There you are.
And we are live. So welcome everyone to this week's episode of Live SEO Site Audits. I'm Itamar Blauer. Today I've got with me the very talented, super genius Andy Woolley joining in today. And today we're going to be doing exactly the same thing kind of as we do in most weeks. Obviously, it's a Friday today. The sessions are usually on Thursdays, but it was very hectic yesterday, so we didn't get around to do that. Let me just make sure that the live chat is on YouTube, because for some reason it's saying it's disabled. So let me just quickly update that. Andy, introduce yourself for the folks who are tuning in.
So I'm Andy Woolley. I've been doing marketing for about 20 years, SEO for about 8 years, still an ever learning curve. Followed lots of guys, including Itamar, Craig Campbell, lots of other people in the sort of SEO field. Know it's probably the biggest way of getting your website to rank, but also to drive the traffic to what you want to offer, be that a product or a service. So for me, it's always a case of it's a learning curve. It's imparting as much knowledge as I've acquired, and I'm still acquiring on a day-by-day basis. And it's always interesting to see how other people build their assets, their brands online.
Fantastic. That's better of an introduction than I could ever do for myself. But yeah, so I think the live chat should be on right now. We've got 4 people watching at the moment. So if you can't see the live chat, just refresh the page, because for some reason it wasn't on. But now it should be on, which I think it is. But so for anyone who doesn't know what this session's about, it's basically getting different people to have a look at your websites. It could be your own website, could be your friend's website, could be even be a competitor's website. And we kind of take different angles in terms of how we can audit it, just from a kind of face value perspective, because obviously, you know, we're not going to spend hours and hours on each site actually going through everything, but it's just so that you can get an idea in terms of how anyone, like if we're your potential customers, how we'd be able to look at your site and get different ideas and different things that you may not have thought about, that you can apply to your websites. And obviously Andy takes it in a very strong traditional marketing perspective. So, you know, in terms of the way we're going to look at things, we're going to be maybe slightly different in our approach, but I think that's, you know, that's always a good thing, so that you get as many different types of ideas as possible. So let me just have a look.
I think it gives you the perspective then. You see it through multiple eyes, which is exactly how your readers would see it. You're not ever going to appeal to one person, you're going to appeal to many different people, and many different target audiences. So it's always good to have positive and negative feedback. None of what we're going to say is derogatory. We're looking at things that we would improve if we were tasked to do, asked to audit or improve the website and improve the user experience. They're the very things that we would look at and probably initiate ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've just noticed that on the StreamYard, the comments aren't coming up, probably because the live chat was disabled, but we do have comments on the live chat, because I'm seeing that on my other monitor. So let me just quickly refresh this. Andy, just stay put for 1 second and see if it'll fix itself.
Yeah, so hopefully if any of you got any questions or you've got a website, put it in there. And yeah, we'll take a look and we'll give you some sort of insight, something that hopefully benefit you at the end of the day. I mean, the way I look at it, people always ask me, you know, how long should a website last? Indefinitely. Long gone are the days you have to keep rebuilding them every couple of years. Websites are dynamic. They change every single day. So you just keep
absolutely. And good news, the chat has actually come up. So we've got Griff here, of course, from yesterday on LinkedIn. Thanks for joining us on this. It's a first loop to YouTube Live. That's great. You know, YouTube Live is, you know, it's been around for a while, but I think more recently it's starting to get picked up a lot more by content creators. So it's great that you're here. So thank you for tuning in. We've also got Blogging Capital, who last week, I think it was, we went through that website, and you know, glad to know that you've been making changes regarding the suggestions that we had given you last week. I think, was it myself last week? I can't even remember. We've got Fateh over here. Hey Fateh, how are you doing? We've got Bibi, been neglected for 3 years, maybe more. Is that?
Presuming that's the website.
Yeah, I would hope it's the website, not anything else. And we've got Stefan over here. Hey, Stefan, good to see you. And I guess we can make a start on Stefan's site over here. So restaurantfurniture.com. So, and for anyone else who wants to submit the website, take a look at how Stefan has done it. So he's got the domain, and then he put a space, and then com or whatever the TLD is. Just put that on the live chat. That way we'll be able to see it. And good to see that you're doing well, Fateh. Good to see that. BB is laughing. I think that's good. BB, you've got websites to suggest, put them in. So yeah, we'll start off with restaurantfurniture.com. So Andy, have you got that up there on the screen and we can take a look?
Yeah, go then.
All right, let's go for it.
So yeah, in fairness, looks nice, well laid out. I like the search facility at the top. Straight away, it's telling me it's an e-com site. So it's it looks like it's well on brand as well. It's got the SSL, which is obviously essential. I mean, it's considered a faux pas to have the hyphen, but I think in this day and age, with the machine learning that Google's got, I don't think it's going to impede in any way, shape, or form. I like it coming straight away into the categories. I mean, I'm not seeing anything I don't like, to be honest. There's plenty of content on there. It's nicely laid out. It's branded. I get a dig under the hood if I have a look, see how it's been built. Let's have a look. So, okay, so Magento sites 1.9. So obviously there's probably a consideration there. It's got to move up to version 2 because that's going to be impeding the ranking over time. I'm not a big fan of Magento, to be honest. I've worked on a number of sites there, but they do make it hard work. But yeah, you'll need to move up to version 2 on that one. Speed-wise, yes, obviously someone's been doing some optimizing on this one, all the images and sizing and caching. Probably nothing, there's probably third-party stuff, yes, CDN. Yeah, Google. So by all accounts, someone's put some love and attention into this. You can see that straight away, can't you? The speed, the size. I think we're coming to a very polished site, to be honest, Itamar. I think you and I are going to struggle to find something that actually needs to be done.
Well,
I mean, if I go through a couple of pages, let's have a look at a couple of pages. Yeah, in fairness, beautifully laid out, nice, simple. Yeah, the filters are all in there. Let's have a look what it's like on a mobile. Again, yeah, someone put a lot of time and effort into this. This is sort of the bar at which you want people to be at, to be honest. Probably what most people don't realize is, from your point of view, like Stefan, is how many hours have gone into this that people don't see, and it just does what it's supposed to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think, in terms of e-commerce stores, and I've seen a lot of different e-com sites, and so many different types of products that they sell, so many different layouts, so many different types of builds. But this one is very clean. I'm going to just take over for a sec on the screen, just so, because in terms of, I suppose, finding something that we can recommend for this site. I mean, when I'm looking at the individual product pages, like here, for instance, you've got the description, you've got the specs, you've got most of what you would expect, as a customer when you're on a site like this. You want to know, you want to see how much it costs, you want to be able to choose the size. You've got pretty much every spec, every description you have there. The only thing I haven't really seen is just testimonials, because if I was to think of one thing that you could do right now that will just make it that bit better, it would probably be having some kind of testimonials in here. But and everything that you were saying before, Andy, like, I think the site looks really good. The one thing that I want to look into a bit deeper is, I put it into Ahrefs, and I was, right off the bat, having a DR of 12 I would say is quite low. The URL rating is actually decent, but there must be something that's just not fully there in terms of the off-page side of things. So, if we look at your organic keywords and you rank for over 4,000 keywords, nearly 4,000 in the US, you can see you've got a lot of keywords here that are on the first page that are actually in the top 3. I mean, you've got position 1 ranking for restaurant booth dimensions, which has 1,300 search volumes. So it's no surprise that this website is getting traffic, but you do need to think about how you can always be better. So in terms of the positions where you might be in the second position, or for example with these keywords right here, and I feel like for restaurant chairs, restaurant furniture, this is, big time search volume, and you're in page 2 for these keywords. If you were to build some links to this page here as well for restaurant chairs, and I feel like, I don't even think you'd need to be going for volume per se. I think it's about just trying to figure out, how can you make more content and how can you rank for more keywords. So when we're looking at this site, obviously you've got the different products, and that's all well and good, but do you have some kind of blog pages? That's something that I noticed that wasn't there as well. It's purely just you've got your products there, and don't get me wrong, you've got the content, and you've got all these product pages, and the look of it is great. Your engagement on the site, I don't know what it's like, but I would say that users are engaged if they are looking for furniture for the restaurant. But consider what more content you can add, because as soon as you've got all the products there, that's mainly going to be set in stone. So you're not really going to be adding too many new products all the time, right? So you got to think of ways to be able to add some more content. And I feel like having a blog section on this site where you can start targeting more keywords about best things to look for in a restaurant chair, for instance, or just things like that, where you'll be able to get some more content, more traffic, and build some more links so that you can start ranking for these really high volume keywords.
Yeah, I compound on that as well, Itamar. Looking at the site is beautiful, but having dealt with a very similar sort of niche like this, if you check out sofas and sectionals in America, they do something not too dissimilar from what you're doing here with sofas and the sectionals, but they build an awful lot of blogs. And I'm just looking through SEMrush at the volume of keywords you've got there. I'd expect you to have a hell of a lot more. I'd expect a lot more traffic. Obviously, traffic, does it convert? That's the key bottom line at the end of the day. But I think that seeing some of the keywords here, you could be easily going for more wins on long tail keywords. And the easiest way to do that is build those back into your content clusters, is write content. Do some blogs. The only other thing I noticed as well on the individual pages, a lot of love and time has gone into this. I can see that. Is I would expect to see a few more image shots of the particular product. Give me more the tactile feel, so I can see it from every angle. Maybe even a 360, maybe a short video in there. That would be very beneficial. I do like, obviously, you've got the image gallery there of the locations, but sometimes seeing that is what makes the difference. These are the extra sort of functions you see through the likes of ASOS these days, where you can set by color and by size. Whether that additional interactivity of user experience is something that you're going to consider. So obviously, if I'm changing the attributes here, could that then change into the images as well? Again, that's a next level of work. But the more specific you make it to the target audience, the more chance they're going to see what they want specific to their choices, and more likely to make that purchase.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't do it, your competitor's going to do it in time anyway.
100% agree. I think, when I looked initially and I saw that the image looks great on the different products. But yeah, if you think of the intent of somebody who's looking to buy a restaurant chair, can they be satisfied with only seeing one image? Maybe, maybe not. But something as well that Stefan mentioned is there's actually in the footer links, there's places to go for on the right-hand side of news articles, guides and tips. So that's something we didn't see. So let me just quickly have a look through that just to see, because, you've got, how often do you publish content? Because I can see 2020 here and I can see 2019, 3 posts behind it. But let's just have a look over here. So, yeah, you've got a fair bit of content. In terms of the internal links that you've got there, I can see that you've got some internal links here, which is good. But it's about how often are you releasing this content? So I don't know exactly when this was published, but if you've only written 3 articles and we're already in autumn of 2020, then there's just missed opportunities. That's the only way. It's the only thing I could say. It's just missed opportunities. So, doing some more, research on topics that you can make, that you can further strengthen the inner pages, your category, your product pages, using different types of anchors, trying to target maybe more long tail keywords, just a bunch of things that you can do. And I suppose, at the end of the day, when you think of, what do you need to do for a site to sustain, right? So when we're talking about future-proofing a site, as soon as you've got everything looking great, this, that, and the other, everything you got, how are you going to continue to be ahead of competition? And it comes down to basically the content and backlinks that you can generate from having good content that is actually appealing to your audience. So that's probably the way I'd sum it up, really.
What I'd say on the content there is looking at your news and articles in your restaurant installations and resources. That's your macro environment. You're talking about your market, right? But don't forget, when you've got a blog, and it reinforces what Itamar was saying earlier about recommendations, you also need your micro environment. You need to talk about the individual products, what you did for so-and-so and what you did for another person. And having those sort of case studies and testimonials will bring that micro environment back into the content as well. So you can get the long tail keywords, obviously, by doing the macro environment. And I would suggest doing a few more than those, that it does look a bit fuller than you've done 3 articles, say, for 2020. But the micro environments, maybe on the individual products, get some testimonials. Maybe that's something to introduce, is that when people purchase, they get a feedback form, survey, something that follows that, and try and get that in. Because that's the other thing I was just quickly thinking about then, is reviews. I'm not seeing any of those on the site either.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's another big plus when it comes to e-com sites is, Amazon introduced it in 1996 and they all thought they were mad, but you know what? It's standard practice now. We are so easily swayed by those 5 stars. So seeing some sort of visual clue that gives me an idea which bar stool is better than another bar stool is a visual clue. And on an e-com site, visual clues are the only way to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Having reviews, either if it's through UGC, so people can review it themselves, having more images, because think about how many potential customers you might have looking through your products, but then they click off and they go somewhere else, maybe because they weren't sure, what a certain chair looked like from a reverse angle or a different angle, or they might not be sure, for example, if one's better than the other. So, you always have to consider that, I think, with e-commerce sites in terms of, how will a potential customer feel, as they're going through and they're probably towards the bottom of the funnel anyway, right? So they might have a very high intent of purchasing from you. Just make it easy for them. I think that's really what it comes down to. But apart from what we've mentioned now, I can't really think of too much else to add. Unless you've got any final bits to add, Andy.
I mean, it's really nitpicking. It's a lovely site, to be fair. I mean, you can see you've got some 360 in there already. The only thing I did notice on the previous page when I was going through some of those filters, one of the obvious things I look for in any sidebar is price. You can see that's key on Amazon, it's key on eBay, on most of those big e-com sites. You've got it up here, obviously, in the price, but you can't select from high to low or low to high. And sometimes that is what differentiates, more so when you've got a big stock range there. Because knowing that you're going to be talking to different target audiences, some may only want to look at a certain range compared to another. So, it's nitpicking. It's literally looking at your filters and seeing, can I make them a little bit better? That's all I can say, to be honest. But otherwise, it's lovely. It's nice.
Yeah, I feel like we're kind of forced to nitpick in this situation when the site does look really nice, and obviously, there could be a lot more. Yeah.
So the other important thing as well is you've got the styles, you've got the back. So obviously you've got the manufacturer, you've got the structure, the aesthetics of it. But also, what about brand brand is an important. I know, just looking at those chairs, there'd be 2, 3, 4 different types of brands, and for some people, they will be sold, if they're in the bar industry, they'd be sold in a certain brand or particular chair because they know it's robust, it'll do the job, it's great for conferences or weddings, functions, whatever. So therefore, I would say possibly brands are another element you could introduce on the filters. I can see the styles there, but that's just food for thought.
Food for thought, Stefan. That's pretty much where it's come to. But obviously, he's saying, thanks for obviously submitting the site, Stefan. We appreciate that. You appreciate our insights, I suppose.
The only other little quickie thing as well, because you live and breathe these e-com sites, is just looking at the chairs. I would, where you've got, obviously you've got each of those little rich snippets, fill these as much as possible. This is dead space here. Could you not put the individual little colors that are available in each one? Because through each one of these, not all of them will, I may only be looking for a cream chair because I only do weddings or conferences. So therefore, I could probably exclude a lot of those quite quickly. Now, that might be available within your filters, but again, I'm not seeing color as a choice. So again, I would capitalize on that. And then if you can get reviews in there as well, this is dead space. Work as much space as possible.
Yep, absolutely agree. Absolutely agree, Andy. Obviously, Stefan, that's all the nitpicking I hope you've got, and you can watch the replays as well. If you've missed out, if you want to write notes or whatever, what have you. But good site. I like it. There's bits, just little tiny things to add, which you can, make it much better. Let's just see what we've got in the chat. We've got BB sending a bunch of messages. In
e-com sites, you basically got to keep abreast of what new technologies out there, and then find your few that you really want to cherry pick. You really like, they have that feel, that look, and then just keep abreast of them. And then as soon as they come up with a nice idea, consider, do you steal it and use it yourself? And the answer is yes.
Perfect. All right, BB, out of all the messages you've sent, I found a website, which is good. So everyhomeremedy.com, I assume that is. So, and all right. Well, Andy, let's get started. What do you think right off the bat?
Well, obviously you got your cookies policy comes straight up. I did click the other one away. I can see you got your AdSense running on there. So I'm straight away starting to think this is an affiliate site. Can't see any exclusive member of Mediavine. Okay, so yeah, I'm not seeing anything out of play. I mean, you're straight into it, what it is, nice simple imagery, colors are on brand. You're straight into the content of what you're talking about. The only thing I would say, first and foremost, when I see some of these sites is, you need to tell me what's it about. Because the obvious may be obvious to you, but it's not to the reader. It can take a while for them to sort of digest and understand what type of website is this, what's your angle, what's your game, what's your agenda, what are you pushing. So I would say 9 out of 10, I would do like a sticky header here, because I always like the logos and the navigation to be available, is when that is under there, maybe just a couple of lines explained really what your elevator pitch is, what your go-to is. And that should also be reinforced then on your Google My Business page. That consistency is a big thing. That way then I'm not left to wonder, each of these individual blogs, is that the flavor of what the website's about? Because they're only a window to the overall offering. That's my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I tend to agree, and I think that's the issue sometimes with these sites. It can be any site really, especially with affiliate sites. And I suppose some of them are more obvious than others. For example, if it's an affiliate site for reviewing headphones, which is something that I saw, I think, a couple of weeks back, that's going to be fairly straightforward. People can easily understand what it's about. But, for certain niches, certain types of products, it may be a bit more confusing. So you got to really think about how somebody may perceive that, who, they might want to, they might be interested in these products, but you still need to sometimes give people that kind of bit of a boost, I suppose. and so that they're, up to scratch with exactly where they are on the site.
Okay, you can see obviously it needs to be optimized for mobile. But before I go up there, I'm looking at consistency. When you're doing an affiliate site, yeah, we're going to see some media vinyl Ezoic ads on there. Totally expect to see that. Now, my rule of thumb when it comes to that, less is more. So knowing that it's going to be in the sidebar, knowing that it's going to be interspersed with 1 or 2 ads in there, don't overkill it. Right, literally, if you look on the Income School, Rick and Jimmy, they sort of hit the sweet spot. And they test it all the time. 2 or 3 on a page is more than plenty. And the reason I tell you this is that I'm looking at some of your images that aren't far off the size of the ads, and therefore I'm left to thinking which is relevant. And there's no consistency of the size of the images. You go from small to large. This is what I'd expect to see. Give me within the body the parameters of where I see the text, because the eye, bear in mind, it's the psychology of the eye. The eye is going from the top to the bottom. If it sees that the image is the same width of the text, I know that's part and parcel of the same journey I'm on. Like you've got here, you've got your text underneath the caption. I know that's part and parcel of the story. I can be forgiven going past the adverts because your eye will basically disseminate between the two, providing it's not overkill.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what, Andy? I'm going to be a bit more harsh because, I mean, BB, I'm sorry, but you can kind of. I think you've mentioned that. I don't know. You haven't done anything for a few years. I think it shows, and I think in terms of affiliate sites. We're in 2020, right? This to me just screams like 2006. I mean, I just really hate the layout of it. But I think with this as well, it's just it depends. I don't know how you made the site. If you used page builders or whatever, you've got some images there that look a bit pixelated. Images that aren't there. If somebody is accessing this site, you've got to be serious. I feel like because this looks to me like somebody's just blogging about, home remedies and stuff. And I guess that's the kind of feel you've got there. But for it to be an affiliate site where you want people to convert, I feel like it just needs a better design, a redesign. But let's just have a look to see.
It's an aggressive market at the end of the day. And if you don't stand out with the power of your images, you're going to get lost. Mm-hmm. There are so many people vying for this market. I mean, I was only listening earlier about the COVID fake sites out there. 58 million people they've drawn because it's revenue. The thing is, you're going to put love and attention into the design, the appeal of the site. And I think that's all that's probably needed here. There's plenty of content. It just needs that little bit of love. I mean, I'm running through one of the blogs here, and I can see the titles to the paragraphs. They're nicely broken down into digestible elements, but the H tags just don't pop. They don't, they need to be on brand. They need to be in a color. They need to be bold. They just need something that it's easy for me to digest what it is.
I feel like if it's not easy to digest, then it's not easy for people to want to engage with the content. And, for it to be an affiliate site where you want people to be clicking on an affiliate link so they buy products, that's what you want. I wanted to show you quickly as well, Andy, take a look at the traffic drop that this site has had from this time a couple years ago. But just, it's plummeted. And obviously, if you say you haven't done anything, you probably haven't touched the site since around, early to mid 2018. And that shows. And I think for anyone who's got a website, whether it's an affiliate site or not, if you don't update your site, this is what's going to happen. If you don't work on building links to it, if you don't work on adding content to it, if you don't work on optimizing it, checking, the technical aspects of it, this is what's going to happen. And, you still rank for over 1,000 keywords, but your organic traffic is only 20. So what that's telling me is that, either it's very low volume keywords or you're just not ranking well enough. And in the case of, but, even something like this where do mice eat coffee grounds? I mean, I don't know what kind of products you'd sell for that. But do you see my point? It's like you need to put, and, I'm not going to act surprised. I'm not going to act surprised because, you know, at the end of the day, it's a site that hasn't been touched in a few years, but that is just it's like a warning for other people to understand that, well, you know, this is this is what's going to happen.
This would be one of those sites that if I was on Flipping Empire, these would be one of the cherry sites I'd want, because it's got a good history. You had nearly 30,000 visitors a month on it at mid-June 2018. So it had the right ingredients at that time, because obviously someone was building the content, putting the love and the care and attention in, but it hasn't evolved. It needs to evolve a little bit more with the style, the look, the feel. So, you know, having had it means that you can get it back quite easily. So if somebody was to sit down and work on that, and then, as Itamar says, like with the content, looking at some of the keywords, it's still resonating for a lot of keywords here and in reasonable positions for them. Granted, they need to be built out. You know, I can just pick out a few, like regarding the band and stuff like that. So I can see the content clusters here. If you were to tighten those up, you could soon get this website ranking quite good within 3 to 6 months and start building back to this inevitable traffic that you had at one point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the fact that it hasn't fully died out is a good thing. You know, if you don't do something after 3 years and it hasn't, you know, completely fallen, you know, beneath the core of the earth, then it's not bad. And obviously, you know, BB's mentioning it used to get almost 100K. She's saying actually, in fact, that it gets around 4K traffic. So, you know, if you're still getting traffic, and this is what's mind-boggling, if you're still getting quite decent traffic when you haven't done anything for 3 years, imagine if you start to do things on a more regular basis. You know, that's just going to skyrocket in terms of the traffic. You know, you might want to go for a bit of a redesign. You know, the thing that Andy was mentioning as well, you know, in terms of making things more consistent, I think consistency is very important when it comes to affiliate sites, especially because the more consistent it is, the more professional it looks. And the more chances you have of somebody actually clicking through and engaging with content so that they do end up purchasing the kind of products that you're trying to push to people.
You can see the quality score is pretty good there. So, you know, I've worked with lots of websites that are nowhere even near starting like that. So in my opinion, sell it or service it, because, you know, you're not doing any service to yourself if you just sit on it. You could make money out of it quite easily. And it's a hot topic. You know, I mean, I work with a probiotics company, and we have excelled during COVID because people care about what they put inside themselves during this time, care about their immunity. So this is the time to really capitalize on it. There's a hungry audience out there for the right message.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And BB asked the question, do you think that the site can recover even if it has all the medical stuff on it? So this is quite a controversial question. I might have a different answer to you, but go ahead, Andy. What do you think?
Again, it depends who your target audience is. If it's in the UK and you're obviously going to be subject to the Advertising Standards Agency, you've got to be so careful what claims you make. And there's some really good websites out there like WebMD and Healthline, who actually employ nutritionists, doctors, practitioners. So it's really hard to compete against the likes of those. But if it's the US, where they're much more liberal in their opinion to the healthcare, then, you know, fill your boots, get your content writers in. As long as you're not making wild claims out there. It's very much the case of the fake COVID websites is that there was a company that was testing to see how much information was accurate on them. And literally 1 in 20 of those websites had accurate information. And even though they flagged it up to them, they didn't change it. And that's the simple rule of the internet. You've got to be careful that the information is truthful. Be known for the truthful. Give it some style. Give it. And can you recover? Yeah, of course you can. Of course you can. It's all about the ethics of what you put behind your website. Mm-hmm. You've got the ingredients there, and I would build on that, to be honest.
Absolutely. Absolutely agree. I would say, BB, for that question particularly, it will depend on who the audience is, but I think it still wouldn't matter as long as you're able to utilize the person who is creating this content, right? So Olivia Johansson, you know, you might need to get them, maybe even some guest posts around that topic, at least featuring on different sites, just so you can at least convince Google that this person is the real deal and they do have some authority in what they're talking about. So it may end up being a problem if you don't, but I think, you know, in terms of the real life, the actual practicalities, if you're still getting traffic, it means that Google, you know, is still thinking that it's okay. So I would say, you know, it doesn't seem to be broke. I think you just need to just contribute some more fixes, just update it with content, the things that we were mentioning before, and it should be fine.
When you talk about medical stuff, it's a very wide gambit by all accounts, but medical is different for different people. If we're looking at, you know, herbal remedies here for things like UTI, IBS, leaky gut, a better microbiome, hair loss, all those sort of things, what you'll find is the target audience are way more educated these days. And you haven't necessarily got to make any sort of claims. Now, for the 4 sites that I manage on the probiotics game, we can't use the word probiotic because it's so closely assimilated to antibiotics. It's a claim. So therefore, we use parallel conversations. We talk about a healthy gut, good bacteria, and we rank #1 pretty much for things like that. We beat the likes of Wikipedia and WebMD and Healthline and the NHS purely because we stay consistent with our content clusters. So what I would say to you is, yes, you can recover, know what your purpose is, which conditions are you really trying to push and help, and then talk about those in every which way as possible. Use the likes of Answer the Public or alsoask.com and see all those tangents of conversations you can have and just keep reinforcing the same content. And then just do an aesthetic overhaul of the site. You'll easily get your traffic back. There's no 2 ways about it, because the thing is, if I had IBS, I would read everything out there relevant to it because it's so personal to me.
Mm-hmm. I 100% agree with you, Andy. I'm just cautious for time a little bit. So we've got 2. So fateh's put a site up and also Prif. So fateh was messaging, apparently put it in. So let's just go through fateh's site, and then Prif will do your site, and, you know, unless anyone's got anything else. So so outsource to India.com. So I've already got that up. So I'm just going to share my screen and just let's give it a go here. So this is a website that, you know, you get people who want to outsource a bunch of different services and things to India. So I'm just looking here. Obviously, you've got the form over here, and I think that's nice. You know, whether you want to have a form and a chatbot on at the same time, that might get a bit much for audiences. Sometimes it is, but I'm going to minimize that for now. In terms of the services that you provide, you know, it's quite a variety of different services. I mean, you know, photo editing, video editing, and transcription services all kind of clustered in a similar kind of area. But then you've got insurance services, so that kind of threw me off. You know, you want to. I feel like with these kinds of things, sure, if you outsource a bunch of different types of services, it's fine, but you always got to be really, really skeptical in terms of how you're able to maximize the rankings that you can get for these different services, and, you know, inform search engines that you are an authority figure within these particular fields. So I haven't checked that yet, and I'm really interested to see. But, you know, right off the bat, I don't think it's bad at all. I think, you know, you've got a lot of different drop downs here. So that's a lot of potential information that people can go ahead and look at. You've got a video over here that demonstrates about how it works. I think that's fine. You know, you've got some customers there. You've got a testimonial, spokesperson. I mean, yeah, I would have somebody's name, to be honest. And online health lessons company in Canada. I would have the name and I would have the actual company, because that seems to me like, if I saw that, I would just think it's just not a thing. I'd think it might just be a fake review, a fake testimonial. So, you know, you want to have people, real people on there. So you've got your news articles. So let's just have a look quickly at a service page and then a blog page. So, you know, you've got content on here. I don't think it looks bad. You've got internal links there as well, which is good. testimonial here, MD medical practice. Like again, use names, and then you've got this CTA and the form down here as well as your information. So keeping your NAP consistent is really important. Having contact details definitely helps. People think that it is a real site, so I think that's good. Based on that, and also on the sidebar here, you've got that form as well for people to fill in. And so this is an article here. I mean, these images are way too small. For any kind of article you put up, should be bigger, I think. And you've got bits of content. I'd assume these are internal links, which they are. So I mean, yeah, it doesn't look too bad right off the bat. What do you think, Andy?
To be honest, no, I quite like it. I mean, they've got the essential ingredients there, right? They've got the call to actions on every single page. They're being consistent with that in the sidebar. Get a quote. So obviously, this is a lead gen site. Everywhere you go on there, there's the potential to contact them. You're not left in any doubt. What's the purpose of this page? What should I be doing next? Kind of like all that. I do agree with what you're saying there with the images. Shout out a little bit. This is one that's pulled off your case study page. And in fairness, you've got plenty of them. But again, for me, the biggest criticism of the whole site for me is it's busy. You could use a little bit more space. Open this up. Put the image at the top, open it up. You come on the home page and it just feels congested. There's a lot here. And yet other pages, you've sort of worked it out quite nicely. You come on the about page and you can see then how you, sorry, was it not the about page, sorry, it was the how we work page. And this is nice. I've got the call to action. You're pulling out the, the specific USPs, a nice big image. It's on brand. And then I come into a nice easy part that's easy to follow. I do notice that when I come into the individual services as well. If I come into one of the services, like one of these big services, and again, you've got the icons here, which is fine. I come into those. You've got your FAQs at the bottom. You've got testimonials, clients there. So you're giving me credibility. I love all this because for me, this sounds genuine. Customer testimonials there, FAQs here, case studies. All this is lovely. This is not too bad. I just spaced it out a little bit. The only thing I possibly would do is break it down with a couple of images just to make it a bit more digestible because that's a bit texty. But other than that, no big criticisms at all. It's a nice site. I just felt that the homepage was a bit overwhelming. I feel that this is fine at the top. I don't feel that image in the back does it any service. Dark on dark. Either turn this transparent and make that dark, so you've got the contrast light to dark. It just makes it easier to read it. This is fine, but I just felt this lacks something. This is the only part that really pulls it out. Bear in mind, it's the gateway into everything else. It's like when I come in onto the insurance services, for some strange reason, these are black and white compared to the other ones which are in color. But I don't think that's a big faux pas by all accounts. This is nice on your tabs. It's simple. You come into each one of these. Again, it's consistency. You've got a video in there, which is lovely. Do quite like that. And yeah, nicely laid out. In fairness, I can't complain about this at all. You've got the credibility in there of the logos, the clients, case studies, and you're finishing off with the call to action. So by all accounts, somebody's given this a lot of time and thought, how does the customer go through this journey? I just think the homepage needs a little something. That's all.
Yeah, I'd say that as well. And I think, just to show you, Andy, this site has been around for a number of years.
Yeah.
And you can see that it's actually been performing quite consistently. So from, this is really early 20 or mid 2015. So for 5 years, and it has gone up a lot in traffic. More recently, it has seen a dip, but it's still getting nearly 20,000 traffic and over 34,000 keywords that it's ranking for. It's got a lot of links, a lot of different domains pointing to this website, and it ranks #1 for a bunch of keywords with decent search volumes. So this kind of stuff, if you're able to rank in the US for benefits of outsourcing, that's an intent keyword. People are interested to know, if they should outsource. You've got this landing page, you rank #1, volume. You're doing well. I think literally it's just, if you want to just go that extra step further and look into individual types of pages where you can make them look a lot less congested, you can make it nicer for people who want to actually spend time reading through your content. And I think if you manage to do that, you'll have no problem. So I don't think there's that much more to add in that sense. But
the one thing that sort of pops in my mind that really hits the mark, as far as I can say, on the homepage is the why do I need to come onto this website? You've got everything else, but there's no USPs that are really shouting out on the homepage. And I would squeeze them in between the slider here and your popular services. I would simplify this to one line, maybe put the text there, but I would make these, bunch them together, and in sandwich in between is tell me the why. You know, I'm going to save money. It's going to be quicker. You're proficient. You've had this many, projects you've done. How many case, studies you've done. How many hours you've seen. How much revenue you've generated through your clients. Tell me the sexy stuff that's going to really pique my interest, because everything else is there on the site. It just lacks the worm on the hook, in my opinion. You want the leads, you want the contact. You're telling me what's on offer, but there's no why.
Yeah, very valid point. Very valid point. And I feel like, just these little tweaks, I think that's all you need. Just a bit of tweaks, just spend a bit more time and you should be fine. We've got about 12 minutes left. So I think, Prith, you've obviously, I hope you're still here, but obviously if you have, you've been waiting patiently. So let's go ahead and look at your site. So prith-art.com. I'm trying to load that. For me, it can't be reached.
Didn't load for me
Is
either.
that for you as well? Prith, is the server down maybe on your end? Because it's not loaded up directly.
Yeah, it came in directly. It's not secure. There's no SSL.
Okay.
And it's prithb-art.
There we go.
That's the one I've got. It may not be technically that. It might be something Prith is building. Slightly.
Yeah, you need that SSL, because I mean, let me just show you. I don't know if it was the same for you, Andy, but for me, is it this one here where you have to go to advanced, and you've got to sort that out. You can get SSL for free as well. I think with modern sites, you should really have an SSL certificate. Sorry, yeah, go ahead, Andy.
So I mean, if this is the one that we're looking at, obviously it's a WordPress site. Yoast is under there, so yeah, straightforward. And also there's WooCommerce on there, so Prith is obviously selling something on this site. It's an e-commerce one, which fair enough. This is me making my deductions of what I would look at it from the outset. An artist is probably selling their works, or if they're not, they might be doing a workshop or something like that. So straight away, I would be looking for things like that to pop out of me from this large navigation menu. So I would expect something to be saying, like there's a workshop in there. Is it join the workshop? And if so, have I got a call to action in there? Have I got a form in there? Can I give my details? Okay, there's an email there, but it really doesn't shout at you, does it? So again, it could be just a case of make that so much larger, or as this is sort of being left justified, stick it in the sidebar here, and then let it stay as a sticky sidebar. So as you scroll down, that stays there. Express your interest, contact us. Then the reader's left in no doubt to find it and act on it, and then give you the inquiries. And there you are. How to buy. We got a purchase on there. How to buy is not the most popular term out there. Shop is so much more straightforward. Some people still like products, but there's a preference. It could be, I mean, you've got commissions there as well, but again, there's not enough text on these pages, so they're going to be low text to HTML problems for a start. So you're never going to rank on a page like that.
There's just a lot of space on the right-hand side of each page. Could that be could you add things to that? Can you add things that entice people to, even if it's like a lead gen form, even if it's some kind of CTA for people to check out your work or purchase something? Obviously, you've got the WooCommerce integration. So that when you've got that, and I feel, people are always going to look at this site and use the navigation, use the tabs on the left, but you need to have something in there that, you need to entice a bit of urgency for people, because the last thing you want is to be selling stuff on this site. But if the person doesn't know where they need to go for them to be able to see the things that you're selling, then they might click on a few tabs and then they might bounce, because there's nothing else that's suggesting them to or bringing them towards that sale. So that's one thing I'd say right off the bat. There's also a comment from BB about the logo as well, and I don't know what that logo is trying to say. I think if it's some kind of signature or something, that's that's okay. But I mean, that's how some people might see it, thinking that it's an N and an O together, and they may get confused. But I think for me, the biggest thing that stands out is just the lack of content. And I think if you've got this site, just to send it to friends or for things like that, then that's okay. But if you're trying to rank this website on search, you need to have HTTPS. You need to have more content, and even a page like this, like energy paintings, like, okay, cool, you have the paintings there, that it looks lovely, but there's no content. So Google is going to think, why would I want, why is Google going to display this site for people who look for energy paintings if there's no content on there? You need to give the search engines the content so that they can understand what is going on. So I think, making sure that, and the same thing with this large abstracts, you've got these URLs, but they don't have any content. You can easily be adding some content underneath that describes, maybe gives people a bit more information about, these types of paintings. And obviously I'm doing just a site search, and the only, okay, so we've got about, 100 results. If most of these results is just, URLs without any content, you're going to have a much harder time trying to rank it. And that's why I'm very interested, because I just want to pop this in to Ahrefs just to take a look and see what's going on there, because I'd imagine that the DR is quite low. I'd imagine, so, organic traffic, organic keywords, and there was time where you were getting a little bit of traffic, but that was when 2018, so that was 2 years ago. But you need to build more links. 31 referring domains isn't enough. But even before you build links, you need the content there. I think that's the most important thing for this site, and making sure that you're optimizing the heading, either for users or search engines.
Yeah, what I say, I know Chris is a nice person, but I can be brutal here, because it's about results, right? Websites don't live on emotion or feelings; they work on results and nothing more. It doesn't have enough wow. It has personality, but doesn't have enough wow. What I mean by that is you're close to it, and I fully get this, because I deal with a few curators, galleries, and artists, and they deliver something that's quite unique to websites, but they don't live in web developers' worlds. And structure is the key when you need to rank, because it's part and parcel of technical SEO. For me, straight away, we need to say, what are we selling here? Again, it's the why. So when we come on the home page here, we've got a navigation, and we've obviously got the main image here, but really you're not telling me who you are, what type of artist are you. Obviously I'm gathering from this it's about portraits, but tell me that. The rhyme and the reason is the search engines won't know that. It would take a long time for them to fathom that out. Plus, also, you're going quite quickly through these images. I would do these as a long mosaic. Put them all on, because you're going too quickly for me to digest them. And if I'm the type of person, and I know that art is subjective, I may appreciate one image over another, and I want to take my time with it. So don't put them in a slider. Literally leave them sitting on the page. And I would make them rotatable. So when I scroll over them, I get a history on them. I get a story, because each one of these paintings has probably got a story behind it. And there's your content to rank on the internet. Whereas at the moment, I see lots of images and no text. Give me the story behind each one. How is it different? What materials were used? How long did it take? What substrate did you put it on? What were the challenges in there? What did you learn from it as an artist through it? Give me that insight, because I know from gallery owner point of view, curators, other artists, they will lap that sort of information up. And then you can link out to the likes of those who can do your link building. That will draw more audience. And then I would also say on here, because I get the use of white space is important, but that doesn't work from a website point of view. You've got to be very careful how you use it and fill it as much as you can. Tell me the obvious things. Are you available for commissions? Do you have workshops? And if so, where's the CTA? The call to action. Is there a form that's on every single page? So if I want to reach out to Prith and I want to commission her for something or do one of her workshops, I have the opportunity.
Those are some really good points, and it's something that I would have mentioned as well about the stories. The problem that Prith has is that the theme doesn't allow to have text below the images. So if you change the theme and add stories to these individual paintings and these kinds of things, just to give people more, they get that experience. And I feel like when people are looking for websites about drawings, paintings, that kind of stuff, they're looking to have that kind of experience as well. So if you change the theme 100%, so you'll be able to do that. And also Gail's here as well. Good to see you here. He was saying you can build different pages, so individual landing pages, and then you can target content and potentially link them to the kind of galleries where you've got these paintings and things over there. And
to draw the analogy back to an artist like yourself, Prith, is if you're on the wrong medium, would you change it? And straight away, I would with your website. For the cost of one of your portraits there, get it on a WordPress website, straightforward theme. The thing is, you're future-proofing. You're not going to just have a website for a year or 2 years. You might have it 10, 20, 30 years. So therefore, you want to make sure you're on a platform that you can keep tweaking it and changing it, and then learn some of that yourself. Easily enough these days, there's plenty of education on the likes of YouTube. And then you can get it to do what you want it to do. Work the way you need to be. And then any insight that the likes of Itamar and I can give, hey, happy to give it, because you know what? Everybody's on their own journey.
Absolutely. And I think it really hits home the fact that, some people might like maybe how a site looks, but you need to think, and Andy, you mentioned this, and I say this to clients as well, it's all about future-proofing the site. So you want to make sure that, it might be a bit annoying, and fair enough, it is annoying, to redesign, change theme. It is, it's not ideal. But I think when you think about the long-term implications and you think of how much traffic you can build on a website like this, how much money you can make, because that's what we'll want to do, right? We want to make sure that we're able to rank, the sites look good, and that people part with their money to purchase our products and services. And I feel like that's the kind of main goal for a site like this. And you were asking as well for examples of good artist websites. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but we can have a look after the session and just send you some URLs if you want to get some inspiration. And BB was saying she sees some cool keywords for this, but then she said it's dead though. BB, I sometimes don't understand what you're saying. But yeah, no problem at all. And it's one of those things where it's a site that if you were able to have the content there, you'd be performing a lot better already. But you kind of obviously have the idea. I mean, I don't know you personally that well, so but obviously Andy, I'm pretty sure if you knows you as an artist and creativity that artists have. You've got to show that on the site and with the content that you've got there.
I mean, just looking at the page there for the About the Artist, tell me your life history. What made you get into art? Tell me the pain that you've gone through, how you express yourself, how it makes you feel. Give me the story, because that's going to be enlightening. If people are interested, they'll read it. If they're not, they'll just glance over it anyway. But then give me a visual to it as well. Give me how you've learned what you've learned and where you see yourself going and how people can be part of that journey. It's very personal website like this. I totally get it.
Yeah, 100%. You know, you need to have that so that somebody, a prospective customer, kind of gets a feel for you. And as soon as they're invested in you as a person, they'll be far more likelier to purchase from you. And I think you even might have a new customer as well, because BB is loving the pieces that you've got on the site as well. So, and also,
the thing to remember is it doesn't matter whether it's a personal or an e-com site or a reference site or affiliate site. Every site is transactional, be that money, brand awareness, or simply you just want more people to buy into your brand. So you need to make sure you know what your customer journey is, the why they're coming on your site to start with. And if you're not providing enough of that ammunition, that content, you're going to lose them. And you'll see that in your Google Analytics anyway, how they just fall away.
Absolutely. Some great points. And obviously, you know, change the theme. That's number one. And then we'll sort out the rest of it, the content and such at a later time. But we have unfortunately run out of time, and the hour went by quick. We managed to go through a fair few sites. Obviously, thank you so much to everyone who's watching. If you did enjoy this session, you know, we do this. I host this with different guests every week on Thursdays, but today is Friday. But Thursdays at 1:30 p.m. is the usual time. Thanks so much, Andy, for coming on. I've really appreciated your insights on these sites, and I'm pretty sure that everyone else has as well who's watching. And yeah, I suppose we'll sign off from there. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll catch you in the next one.